You ache to end all your suffering, don't you? To silence it permanently, perhaps even in a mere 20 minutes, as if this moment right now were your one and only chance for true relief. Carl Jung, who charted the deepest pathways of the human soul, understood this profound, almost unbearable human cry. But what if the end you so desperately seek isn't an escape from pain, but a radical transformation through the very heart of what pains you? A shift in understanding so profound, it changes everything forever. We live in a world that whispers promises of a painless existence, a life where every discomfort can be medicated, distracted, or deleted. But Jung knew a dangerous secret. Some suffering is legitimate, even necessary. It is the soul's way of calling us to grow, to confront our shadows, to become more whole. What if the true suffering, the kind that truly needs to end, is not the pain itself, but the meaningless pain, the neurotic suffering born from avoiding life's essential transformative challenges? Imagine then that these coming 20 minutes are not a magic cure, but a threshold, a sacred doorway into a different way of seeing, a moment of such intense clarity it can pivot your entire existence. This only chance is not about a fleeting trick, but about seizing a rare opportunity to grasp a timeless truth about your own inner landscape. A truth that, once truly seen and integrated, begins the permanent alchemy of your relationship with all that has ever caused you to suffer. What truly needs to end is not the ebb and flow of human feeling, not the inevitable encounters with loss or difficulty, but the tyranny of your suffering, its ability to define you, to diminish you, to keep you trapped in cycles of despair. Jung's wisdom offers not an escape from life, but a way to engage with it so deeply, so authentically, that suffering itself is stripped of its destructive power, transformed into a catalyst for profound strength, for unbreakable inner peace. The permanent change is in you, not in the world's capacity to wound. Before we unlock the gates to this 20-minute window of profound insight, this singular opportunity that Carl Jung's deep understanding of the psyche offers, your chance to fundamentally alter suffering's grip on your life forever, pause and connect with your own deepest ache. What specific burden, what recurring pain, what form of suffering do you most desperately yearn to transform, to find meaning within, or to finally, truly lay down? Share that profound yearning in the comments below, for acknowledging the specific nature of your suffering is the very first step towards its lasting transformation. That deep, persistent ache within you, the suffering that seems to cling to your very bones, how desperately you wish for it to end, to vanish completely and forever. You hear the promise, perhaps in a mere 20 minutes, your one and only chance, and a part of you, the part that has grown so weary, leaps with a fragile, almost forbidden hope. Carl Jung, who journeyed into the darkest, most hidden corners of the human soul, understood this profound yearning for release, this cry for an end to pain. But he also knew that the paths to true and lasting peace are rarely the ones paved with quick fixes or easy answers. What if the end of suffering you seek is not an obliteration of all pain, but a profound transformation of your relationship to it, a new way of seeing that can begin, yes, in a moment of blinding clarity, a pivotal 20 minutes where the old ways of suffering lose their power over you forever? We are often our own most skilled tormentors, are we not? We weave intricate webs of fear. We cling to illusions that promise comfort, but deliver only a deeper unease. We run from the very shadows within us that hold the keys to our wholeness. Jung saw that so much of our suffering is not the clean, direct pain of life's unavoidable wounds, but a kind of neurotic suffering, a self-made misery born from avoiding our true feelings, from denying our deepest needs, from living a life that is not authentically our own. This is the suffering that can, indeed, begin to unravel, to lose its venomous grip, when a new light of understanding dawns. Think of the stories you tell yourself about your pain, the familiar roles you play in your own inner dramas, the victim, the martyr, the misunderstood soul. These narratives, often learned in childhood, can become like heavy chains, binding you to cycles of suffering that repeat endlessly. You long for these chains to break, for the weight to lift. But what if the chains are not entirely outside of you? What if the key to unlocking them lies hidden within the very patterns of thought and feeling you've come to see as an inseparable part of who you are? This is where the true work, the work that can lead to a permanent shift, begins. The allure of a 20-minute cure is powerful, especially when the burden feels too heavy to bear another day. It speaks to that exhausted part of us that simply wants the pain to stop now. But Jung would gently guide us to look deeper, to question what kind of cure we are truly seeking. Is it a temporary numbing, a brief holiday from our sorrows, only to have them return with even greater force? Or is it something more profound, more lasting, a fundamental change in the very ground of our being, so that even when life brings its inevitable challenges, we no longer meet them from a place of brokenness, but from a center of quiet strength and understanding? This is the paradox. The very quickness, the almost magical promise of the 20 minutes might just be the catalyst needed to break through our deepest resistances. Sometimes it takes such a bold claim, such an urgent call, your only chance, to shake us from our slumber, to make us willing to consider a truth we have long avoided. Perhaps these 20 minutes are not about a superficial fix, but about a concentrated, piercing moment of insight, a flash of knowing so powerful it shatters old illusions about why we suffer and how that suffering can truly, deeply begin to end. Imagine for a moment that the suffering you carry is not a life sentence, but a locked room, and for years you've been trying to pick the lock with the wrong keys, or perhaps you've been too afraid to even approach the door. What if, in a focused span of awareness, a 20-minute window of profound openness, someone could show you where the true key has been hidden all along? Perhaps in your own pocket, overlooked, dismissed as unimportant. This isn't about someone else fixing you. It's about you discovering the power you already possess to begin to change your inner world. Jung knew that the unconscious mind holds both the roots of our deepest suffering and the seeds of our greatest healing. Often we suffer because we are disconnected from this vast inner world, or because parts of ourselves, our unloved shadows, our forgotten potentials, are crying out for attention, for integration. The quick fix we crave might actually be the sudden, shocking recognition of one of these lost pieces, a moment where an old, painful pattern finally makes sense, not just in your head, but in your heart, in your very bones. This kind of insight doesn't magically erase all past hurts or guarantee a future free of all difficulty. That would be an illusion, another trap. But what it can do, and what can indeed feel like an end to all your suffering as you've known it, is to fundamentally change your relationship to pain. It can end the needless suffering, the suffering that comes from fighting yourself, from living in fear, from being a stranger to your own soul. It can end the feeling of being hopelessly trapped. This only chance, then, is not a threat, but an urgent invitation. It's the chance to seize a moment of profound clarity, a moment where the veils thin and you see a possibility for yourself you never dared to imagine. It's the chance to stop reinforcing the old patterns of misery and to consciously choose a new path, a path towards wholeness, armed with a new understanding of why you hurt and how that hurting can, at last, begin to transform into something else entirely. The promise of a permanent end to suffering, in this light, is not the promise of a life without waves, but the promise of learning to become a skilled surfer, able to ride even the biggest, most challenging waves with a new sense of balance, of inner alignment. The storm may still rage outside, but within you, a calm center begins to hold, a center that knows that even this too shall pass, and that you have the inner resources to meet it. This is the profound shift that can feel like everything. Now let us delve into the alchemy of your own pain, the way Jung understood how suffering, when met with courage and consciousness, can be transformed from a source of endless torment into a crucible for profound growth and meaning. It's not about getting rid of the lead of your suffering, but about discovering the secret process that can turn that very lead into the gold of wisdom, compassion, and an unbreakable connection to your true self. This is where the real magic lies, far beyond any superficial 20-minute trick. Think of your deepest wounds, not as marks of shame or failure, but as sacred openings, places where the light of awareness can enter more profoundly. Jung often spoke of the wounded healer, the idea that our own vulnerabilities, our own encounters with darkness, can become the source of our greatest strength and our deepest capacity to connect with and help others. What if the suffering you've endured is not a meaningless burden, but a hidden part of your unique soul's curriculum, designed to shape you into the person you are meant to become? The transformation begins when you stop running from your pain and instead turn to face it with curiosity, with a willingness to understand its message. What is this suffering trying to teach you? What part of you is it calling you to reclaim? What illusion is it asking you to release? These are not easy questions, but they are the questions that begin to dissolve the needless aspect of your suffering, the part that comes from simply resisting what is. This is the profound alchemy. When you embrace your shadow, that disowned, feared part of yourself, you reclaim an immense amount of psychic energy that was previously locked up in repression. When you understand the unconscious patterns that have driven your choices and created your pain, you are no longer their helpless victim. You begin to see that much of what you thought was happening to you was actually, on some deep level, being co-created by you from a place of unawareness. And what you co-created unconsciously, you can now begin to recreate consciously. This is how the permanent shift happens. It's not that difficult feelings will never visit you again, but they will no longer own you. They will no longer send you spiraling into the same old pits of despair. You will have a new reference point, a new understanding, a new capacity to meet these feelings with awareness, to find their hidden meaning, to integrate their lessons, and to continue moving towards wholeness, no longer defined by your suffering, but deepened by it. The path forward then, after that potential 20-minute flash of life-altering insight, is a journey of ongoing integration, a commitment to living from this new, more conscious center, starting right now. That initial revelation is like a powerful seed being planted in the soil of your soul. But for that seed to grow into a mighty tree, providing lasting shade and fruit, it requires your continued attention, your care, your willingness to nurture what has been awakened within you. This means making a conscious choice day by day, moment by moment, to no longer feed the old patterns of suffering. It means learning to recognize the early warning signs, the familiar triggers that used to send you down the old dark roads, and choosing instead to respond differently from a place of greater awareness and self-compassion. This is the now of your transformation. It happens in these small, courageous choices, repeated over time. You might begin by paying closer attention to your dreams, those nightly letters from your unconscious, which Jung considered so vital for understanding the hidden dynamics of our suffering and our healing. You might find yourself drawn to new ways of being, new activities, new relationships that resonate with this emerging, more authentic part of yourself, and gently letting go of those that kept you tethered to the old pain. The 20 minutes of insight can give you the map, the key, the profound understanding of why you've suffered and how that can change. But it is your dedication, your willingness to walk the path revealed by that insight that makes the change permanent. that allows the inner decay of old suffering to truly stop and for a new, more vibrant, more meaningful way of living to take root and flourish. This is not about achieving a static, pain-free perfection, but about embracing a dynamic, ever-deepening relationship with your own soul. This is the true liberation, not a life without challenges, but a life where you are no longer a prisoner of your own unexamined pain. It's a life where you can meet sorrow with an open heart, knowing it will not destroy you. It's a life where joy is deeper, more authentic, because it is not built on the denial of your shadows, but on the courageous embrace of your whole self. This is the profound, lasting peace that begins to dawn when you finally understand the meaning hidden within your own unique journey through suffering and choose to live from that understanding now and always. And so, as the echoes of our deep dive into the heart of suffering begin to soften, may you feel not an ending, but a profound shift, a quiet opening within. The weight you carried, the pain that perhaps defined so much of your inner world, may not have vanished entirely, but its nature, its power over you, has begun to change. Carl Jung's wisdom reminds us that true liberation comes not from escaping life's inevitable sorrows, but from transforming our relationship to them, finding the hidden meaning within the ache. That 20-minute threshold of insight we spoke of, that singular moment of clarity, was never meant as a final cure, but as a powerful beginning, the dawning of a new understanding. It is the point where you realize that neurotic, pointless suffering can indeed begin to end, replaced by a courageous engagement with the legitimate pains that life and growth inevitably bring. The peace that follows is not the absence of feeling, but the presence of a deep, unshakable inner knowing. Carry this thought like a hidden gem within your soul. Within the raw ore of your deepest pain lies the alchemical promise of your own becoming. The 20 minutes of true seeing merely uncovers the hidden gold, inviting you to begin its lifelong refinement now. Suffering, when met with conscious awareness and a heart willing to understand, ceases to be a tormentor and becomes a profound, if sometimes stern, teacher. This permanent change, this only chance seized, unfolds not in a single effortless flash, but in the ongoing courageous choice to live from this new understanding. The world will still present its challenges, its moments of sorrow and joy, but you now possess an inner compass, a way to navigate these waters with a resilience, a depth, and a sense of purpose that was previously obscured by the fog of unexamined pain. This is the art of living awakened. If this journey has stirred within you a desire to continue this path of transformation, to find meaning where once there was only pain, then let us walk together in this shared quest for wholeness. Subscribe and keep exploring the profound landscapes of the human spirit. Share in the comments below one small way you feel inspired to meet your own legitimate suffering differently, beginning today, or one insight that resonated from your own 20-minute moment. And if these words might offer a flicker of hope to another soul still lost in the darkness, share this message. For the alchemy of healing often begins with a single shared spark of understanding.